To be able to build wealth. Well, how does that work? Next slide, and I'm going to show you how this works. Okay, so here what we have is, some cash flow that's happening here. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to, if the green arrow is cash going out, the yellow arrow is cash coming back in. Okay, and if we go into, let's put up the transitional pieces, Jed, where there's money that is being spent here. I think it's the next slide that shows that. If you can just put it in. Okay, so here we have, okay, just right there. We just stop right there. So here we have car loan, $25,000 left on it at 8.5%. Our car payments are $396. And we have a credit card that we have $5,000 on. We want to pay it off, but we're putting only the minimum at 19.99%. We're putting the minimum of $133 a month. So then how do we turn this around? Because right now what we see happening, and which is true with a lot of us, right, is that the flow of money, the flow of cash is going out from you. It's not coming back to you. You're paying this. You're paying off every month. Cash flows out of your bank account for $396 to pay that car. Every month, $133 comes out of your account to pay for that credit card. How can we turn it around so the cash flow comes back? And how does infinite banking help us with that? How does a participating whole life policy help us with that? So here's what we do. We set it up. So click the next slide, please. We set it up. Let's say we're making $80,000 a year, and we're going to set up. The general rule is try to save 10% of your income, right? Every month, every time you get paid, set aside 10%. You can even have that automated, right, by the bank, and just automatically when your pay comes in, set aside that amount, right? Every month or every paycheck, every 2 weeks. So here on the left is a chart of what it looks like when you're putting $8,000 a month into that. So I'm sure you'll be able to tell where, eventually that there's going to be a break-even point. In fact, if you look it's in the 8th year, right? Because you put 64,000, but your value is 65, right? So here in this case, when you're putting $8,000 in, here you go. You've got this asset, right? That's happening. So now you have this special design whole life policy that you can work with. So here's what you do. You take it. Next slide, please, bro. Click. What you have then is you have this whole life policy that has guaranteed interest and an annual dividend, both of them, right? You have the guaranteed, usually around 3 or 4%. Then you have an annual dividend, which is these days it's around 6%, right? 6.25%. So that's the rate of return that is compounding in your policy. So what you're going to do is you are going to take a portion of that. So you have a $5,000 credit card. Let's deal with that one first. Even in the first year, if you take a look, you put $8,000 in, you have $6,000 worth of accessible money, right? Cash value. So what you do, you might be wondering, well, I put $8,000 in, how come I don't have $8,000 there? Well, because there's cost of insurance, right? Remember, we're protecting it by putting it into a participating whole life policy, into an insurance policy. You're actually taking advantage of the insurance industry's special position with the CRA when it comes to taxes. In other words, the growth in your policy does not get taxed. So you have to pay for the cost of insurance, of course, because you have that benefit as well. You have a death benefit. So if something should happen to you, if life is short, it pays out, right? So you've got $6,000. You have a $5,000 debt load on your credit card. Why don't you pay that off? You're paying 19.99% interest on that. That's crazy. You don't want to pay that. So you pay that off by borrowing from your asset, right? Not taking any money out, but borrowing against it and getting a loan from your insurance company and pay off that $5,000. What do you do now that you don't have to pay $133 a month to the credit card company? You pay it anyways, but not to the credit card company. Instead, you pay it to yourself. Pay it back. Take that 133 and put it into a separate fund, right? Something else. And reverse the cash. So right there, you're taking your first steps in reversing the cash flow. That 133 used to go out from you, but now it's the cash flow direction is coming into you, right? 133. Okay? We can do the same thing with the car loan of 25,000. You can every year look at the growth of your asset. In the second year, you've got 12,852 less the 5,000 that you put in there. So you got $7,000 available that you could use towards that $25,000. Eventually, you can, by the third or fourth year, you're taking that and putting that in there. You can put that 133 a month into that as well. So that 133 a month translates to $1,596 a year. That's significant. How many of you know you can do something with $1,500 extra every year? I can come up with some things, right? But here's what you do. You can put that into that, paying off that 25,000. You can do that as well. But what you end up doing is whatever assets you have, whatever capital that you have, you can use it to get yourself debt free from that car loan. And you get rid of that. What do you do with the $396 a month? You reverse the cash flow and you pay it back to yourself. So it comes under the yellow, here it comes back. And that $396 a month actually translates to $4,752 a year going into your bank, into your pockets, not the lender, not the credit card company, not the bank, not the person you borrowed from. It's going into your pocket now. That's over $6,000 a year. If you can come up with something to do with $1,500, imagine $6,000 a year. That's incredible. And what I would suggest you do with it, at least partially, is take that and put it into your policy. Build your bank here. Build it up. Keep building it up, right? And what has happened? You've taken your cash flow and you've turned it around. And now what are you doing? You're using your debts and your expenses to build wealth. You see that? You see how that's working? You're using your debts and your expenses. You're turning it around, the cash flow around, so it comes back to you. Now you're going to use that to build wealth in your life. And what do you end up doing? Once the debts have been paid, you can start paying back the loan. And remember, Jed showed us that earlier. No matter what the rate is, you're still going to have the advantage because the spread between your money growing versus what you would owe on that policy loan, actually, you've got that in your favor. It's now the spread is in your favor, and you're no longer paying interest fees on that car loan or on that credit card. Wow, you're saving money, you're building wealth, you're changing the direction of your cash flow back into you. You can use that, pay off those policy loans to the insurance company that might be at 6 or 7%. Pay that off instead, right? And there's actually a little arrow here that does that. Bro, if you can click that next thing, there you go. So you pay off the loans once the debts are paid off. Who can do this kind of thing? Jed, who can do it, man?
We can. Anyone can.
Anyone can do this. Yeah, it's doable. It's doable. And you don't have to, these numbers are just for example. You can do this within your budget. If your budget is only $500 a month, then put $500 a month. But here's the thing. You should be saving. It's just a good habit. You should be saving a percentage, at least 10% of what you're making. You should be setting it aside and putting it to savings. And then where are you going to put that? This is the best place to put it, I believe. You put it into your own bank. You put it into this participating whole life policy, this supercharged savings account, until you know that you have something else to do, like an investment, real estate, whatever you want to do to build your dream.